Hi, I'm Ryan Wright.
And I'm Jerry.
Welcome to Reasons to See,
where we give you reasons to see.
And not to see.
The host.
So let's hang out.
It's impossible. You're human.
After an alien race has taken over mankind by taking over their bodies and erasing their memories, our main character Melanie is taken over by an alien named Wanderer, but Melanie still lives inside the mind of her body. Sounds confusing? Keep up, people. Melanie will risk everything to protect the people she cares most about, proving that love can conquer all in a dangerous new world. Reason to see number 1. Wanda, or The Wanderer.
So basically, Saoirse Ronan plays two characters in a sense because the one character is Melanie, who's the human character who's part of this resistance.
Come with us. Like hell!
Who then gets captured and they put this alien soul, they're called, into her body, and that's Wanderer. So Wanderer takes over her body, and then Melanie is still there in her head.
Human bodies take a lot of getting used to. They're not like the others we have inhabited. Their emotions are powerful. If her will has survived along with her memories, she may resist from within.
Yeah, and then when the Wanderer comes across the human resistance, they nickname her Wanda. One of the characters that she plays is really portrayed very well, actually.
Yeah,
her
totally.
performance on Wanderer, it was really good. She's this person who's kind of exploring humanity, is starting to feel emotions she's never felt before, because that's always what makes humanity great in movies like this, is our emotions, our ability to choose, despite how terribly we are with the environment and everything else. It's our emotions that really save us.
I gotta know. Is Melanie in there?
Well, yeah, that's always a kind of a role I feel is gotta be kind of tough to play because you have to act as though everything is foreign to you and you don't quite understand being human, and you've been human all your life. She grounds this movie. I mean, she keeps it compelling even when it veers off into cheeseland.
Yeah, and it's a role with a lot of depth, and there's layers to it.
Yeah.
So she does a really good job, especially the interaction back and forth between Wanda and Melanie's voice inside of her head.
Reason to see number 2. William Hurt.
William Hurt plays Melanie's uncle, the leader of the human resistance.
Yeah, Jeb.
He really elevates this movie's material already. I'm really happy they cast him in this role.
He's wise and wily at the same time. You're always glad to see him on screen.
So many humans alive.
Found this place by accident. Almost died trying to find a way out of these caves.
And he does have those leadership qualities that are necessary, because out of all the rebels, he's the leader of them, and he's the only one who shows compassion towards the alien. Reason to see number 3. The Concept.
I don't know how much you know about this new world. Almost every human has been successfully occupied.
This is actually such a cool concept to me. It's like what happens after Invasion of the Body Snatchers in a way.
Yeah, a little bit.
It's a really cool world to explore. I love all the elements they have going for it. You know, they have this idea of the alien race and then the human resistance, and then they also got some great human complexity going on. There's some awesome science fiction in here. So there's a lot of great things to really explore, and just the whole universe is laid out very well.
Yeah, well, and see, the thing is, I feel like this movie is kind of a punching bag just because the name Stephanie Meyers is on it. And say what you will, you know, shit all over Twilight if you want, but the core concept of this movie is actually really cool.
We do not change this world, but experience it and perfect it.
Even if it doesn't always work, there's a lot of cool ideas, and this whole thing of two people trapped in the same body trying to figure out life in the world around them is actually really compelling, at least on a molecular level.
It's the most literal interpretation of internal struggle.
Reason to see number 4. Sometimes it's so bad it's good.
Especially in Act 1, people.
Yeah.
There are some moments in there where you're like, wow, oh my god, this is not a good movie.
Yeah, see, it wasn't like Twilight, where all the movies I've seen in Twilight, after a while, I'm just like, this is so irritating. Like, at least when the silly moments come up, at least you get a kind of a laugh out of it. You're like, what are you doing? You know?
That's the thing, is like, there's some moments that are just absolutely just horrendous, but you can't disregard their entertaining moments. Reason to see number 5 has its moments. Surprisingly, around the time of Act 2 and for the rest of the movie, there's a lot of surprisingly very well fleshed out scenes that I actually really enjoyed. There's some really good drama that pulled me into the movie. You know, I don't want to give away the ending, but the ending was a little bit emotional to me.
Yeah, no, I teared up, man. I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna go on the record and say I cried during this movie.
The movie goes back and forth between being like, whoa, this is really bad, and then, oh, that is a surprisingly really good scene.
This is one of the weirdest mixed bags I've ever seen, because there is some stuff that legitimately is really cool and really like emotional, or it strikes a tone that's just really engrossing.
Yeah, and there's some like really intriguing plot points too.
Like, there's a legitimately great sci-fi romance buried in this movie.
It just needed like 1 or 2 rewrites and it would have been an exceptional film.
Exactly. Reason to see number 6, cinematography.
I think the one thing that, even if you're a hater, you cannot deny, the film looks good throughout. You know,
it looks incredible.
Yeah, there's
all the time.
I remember even in Act 1 going, you know what, despite the fact of how kind of cheesy this is, it still looks really good.
Well, the cinematography has a big hand in selling this movie.
Yeah.
And the direction of the cinematography, because it's like, it really, I mean, first off, they just capture these gorgeous landscapes really well. Like, you know, the frames are all really interesting, and it all contributes to this weird future.
Yeah, because it works well in comparison with, you know, the science fiction world that you see, especially in Act 1, and then with watching kind of the nature desert kind of world in you know, Act 2 throughout. So when you get to see both collide, and without the cinematography working so well together, it probably would have seemed very weird. Alright, so let's move on to the reasons not to see the host. Reason not to see number 1, Melanie's voice. Like we mentioned earlier, Melanie is still alive inside of her body, but like in the mind of Melanie, and she can be pretty annoying sometimes.
Yeah, man, it's the way they wrote, it's
like a 13-year-old girl all of a sudden.
It's like 2 writers wrote Melanie and Wanderer, because there's a part where some of the time you're like, no, yeah, I get it, Melanie, I get what you're doing, and then other times you're like, dude, shut up.
The dialogue does not match the character's age. It was hard to adjust to, especially in Act 1.
Reason not to see number 2, the romance.
There is a house built out of stone.
I haven't stopped dreaming about her.
Okay, I'll be honest with you. There's romance in here with a character named Jared, played by Jeremy Irons' son, Max Irons.
Max Irons.
And anyway, there is some horrible romance in those moments. Especially, oh gosh, there's a scene in Act 1 when they're on the couch outside and they're talking to each other, and I just remember everyone in the theater cracking up at a scene where they're clearly trying to be as serious as possible. But oh man, it just does not work. And then there's moments where he's talking to Wanderer that are just, no. And the fact of the matter is, you kind of forget about the romantic aspect to it with them, and it's just never felt. It doesn't, you're never really rooting for them to get back together or for it to work out. It's just, that's the biggest issue I have with the romance in it.
I don't think the romance is all bad, because I think the concept, again, is really cool. If you there's 2 people stuck in a body, and then you have 2 other guys, one of whom loves actual Melanie, and one of whom loves Wanderer, and I think that's actually a cool thing to play with.
Yeah, there's a character in the movie named Ian who is in love with the actual Wanderer. At first, he tries to murder her by choking her to death, but eventually, without any real explanation.
A lot of characters do stuff without any real explanation.
He ends up falling in love with her for some reason. But it's still kind of weird at first, but eventually when you get moved past it, it becomes better than the story with Jared.
Yeah, I actually like a lot of their romantic scenes together. And again, I just think it suffers because of the writing.
Reason not to see number 3, awkward moments. Sometimes it's so bad it's good. Sometimes it's so bad that it's so bad that it's awkward to actually watch. Some scenes I was like doing this because I didn't want to look at the screen because I felt so uncomfortable to actually watch some of these moments.
My name is Jared Howe. I haven't spoken to another human being in 2 years.
Melanie, Strider. This is the beginning of a love story. And that might not seem like a big deal, except for one thing. This is the future, and humanity is all but extinct.
There's a scene where Wanderer is thinking about it's making me just get uncomfortable again.
Oh, no.
Where Wanderer and Melanie are kind of taking turns on making out with their boys, and it's such a weird fucking scene that I actually looked to my friend and went, "Oh my god, what the fuck is going on right now?"
Reason not to see number 4, bad dialogue.
That is probably the first thing you'll notice with this movie, is just how bad the dialogue actually is. It's cracking me up looking back on some of the lines. I don't want to give any of them away for you. Just watch it. There's some awful dialogue in certain scenes. Well, in a lot of scenes.
That's probably the most for me. That's probably the most consistently lacking thing is the dialogue, and after a while you just kind of got to get used to it.
And sometimes it's so expositional that it's like the script is like treating the audience like they're idiots. You know, it can be pretty bad at times.
Jared.
It's not human. Till we stop acting human. I miss everything about her.
Okay, so with all that aside, I guess I should probably tell you what my recommendation on it is. Ryan's consensus. There are cheesy but sometimes good reasons to see The Host. There are cheesy but sometimes good reasons to see The Host. Yeah, despite the fact that, you know, especially from a filmmaker point of view, it's not the greatest movie. But regardless, I was entertained throughout.
Jerry's consensus. I'm gonna say there are some surprisingly good reasons to see The Host. There are some surprisingly good reasons to see The Host. So this film is like the ultimate mixed bag for me, because, you know, some of it is pretty bad, and then there's other stuff that's legitimately really cool, but ultimately, you know, it's not Twilight, it's its own beast, and at the end of the experience, I walked out digging the shit out of it. Alright guys, thanks for checking out the video. Go ahead and click down at the bottom in the comment box. Tell us your reasons to see or not to see The Host.
And if you want to check out my straight to the point review of The Host, and if you want to know the differences between this review and that review, just hear the title, it's straight to the point. Click the link right here.
And if you want to see more episodes of Reasons to See, click the link right here.
Last but not least, if you want to get updated every time a new video is out, subscribe! Subscribe, people.
Subscribe to our channel.
Please, subscribe. We are the hosts of Reasons to See.
This good.
You sound like George McFly.
Yeah. Or the Count now.
Yeah. Yeah, my George McFly is apparently the Count.
Yeah, same thing. You know, they're both strange.